Good afternoon, students. Today I will teach you the topic pollination. Pollination. What is pollination? Pollination means transfer of pollen grain from anther to stigma. You know parts of flower: androecium, male sex organ; gynoecium, female sex organ. Parts of androecium: filament, connective, anther, and within that anther pollen grain produces. Part of gynoecium: style, stigma, ovary. You know, in ovary, ovule present. Now, here pollination. You know male gamete of flower, that is the pollen grain. Now pollen grain, that is transfer by that process, pollination. Pollination means that pollen grain from anther that are transferred to stigma of gynoecium. Now that definition of that pollination: transfer of pollen grain from anther to stigma is called as pollination. Transfer of pollen grain from anther to stigma, that is the pollination. Now there are two types of pollination. Pollination that is the most important for fertilization. Fertilization means fusion of gamete, fusion of male gamete and female gamete. Now for that fusion, it is essential to bring male gamete up to female gamete. Now male gamete means pollen grain. It is non-motile. Non-motile means cannot move by own. For movement, that pollen grain it required some living agents, non-living, such as air, water, living agents such as insect, birds, all that required for transfer of pollen grain. Here, transfer of pollen grain from anther to stigma, that is called as a pollination. There are two types of pollination. Some flowers or some plants that not required any outer agent, that is the self pollination. Two types of pollination. First one, self pollination, and second one, cross pollination. Self pollination means self, that pollination are pollen grain that transfer from anther to stigma by self. It does not require any other agents. Cross pollination it required, because here in cross pollination two plants are there. In self pollination only single plant involved. Now what is self pollination? Self pollination means transfer of pollen grain from anther to stigma of same or different flower. Look here, same or different flower present on same plant. Transfer of pollen grain from anther to stigma. Transfer of pollen grain from anther to stigma, that is pollination. But in self pollination, transfer of pollen grain from anther to stigma of same flower, here same or here different flower present on same plant. Means here only single plant involved. Plant is single, but maybe that transfer within that same flower, or that required other flower present on that same plant. If that pollen, now here yellow color, that is the androecium, having anther producing pollen grain, and that pollen grain from that androecium transfer to same stigma within same flower. That process is called as autogamy. Self pollination are of two types. Again here self pollination are of two types. First one, autogamy. Auto means self. means same flower present on same plant. Here transfer of pollen grain from anther to stigma of same flower present on same plant, that is called as autogamy. And if transfer of pollen grain from anther to stigma of different flower present on same plant, that is called as gentonogamy. Gentonogamy, flowers two but present on same plant, that is gentonogamy. Means self pollination are of two types: autogamy within single flower, gentonogamy in between two flower of same plant. Plant here same but flower different. What is the definition of that gentonogamy? Transfer of pollen grain from anther to stigma of different flower present on same plant. That is gentonogamy. Now here, that is the first type of pollination, self-pollination. Two types, autogamy and gentonogamy. Now second type of pollination, cross-pollination. Cross-pollination means crossing, hybridization, new variety formation, transfer of pollen grain from anther to stigma of different flower. Now here, flower different. Now here, different flower present on different plant, means in cross pollination, two plants involved. Two plants involved, and pollen grain that transfer from one flower to another flower of different plant, that is called as xenogamy. That is called as xenogamy. That two plants are there, but that two plants are of same species. That are of same species. Species same, plant different. And if two plants and that are of different species, then that is next process, that is the hybridization. Transfer of pollen grain from anther to stigma of different flower present on different plant of different species, then that is the hybridization. Like if here potato, then here also potato in xenogamy. And in hybridization, if here potato, if here tomato, then crossing of that potato and tomato, that forms pomato. Potato, tomato forms pomato, new variety, hybrid variety. That process is hybridization. Now that hybridization is not here, because here same species. Here potato, potato, tomato, tomato, same species, but two plants involved in cross pollination, that is called as xenogamy. That is known as xenogamy. Now for that pollination, different agents required. Different agents that are required for that pollination, that agents are called as pollinating agent. Pollinating agent. Agent required for pollination are called as pollinating agent. The agent responsible for pollination, that is called as pollinating agents. Now that pollinating agents responsible for pollination, to carry that pollen grain. Pollen grain are male gamete that are non-motile, means cannot move from one place to another by its own. It required some carrier to carry from anther to stigma. Now for that, for carrying that pollen grain from anther to stigma, it required some agents, some carriers, maybe living or non-living. Non-living carriers are non-living agents that are called as abiotic agents. Non-living agents, abiotic agents like wind, air, water, and there are some living agents. Living agents are called as biotic agents. Living agents are biotic agents and non-living agents that are called as abiotic agents. What are the example of living biotic agent? Insect. Here maybe insect, birds and bats. In our study, here three living agents are there: insect, birds, bat, and in non-living, two agents: wind, air, and water. Two agents are there: air and water. Air, wind, and water. Two non-living abiotic agents are there. Now here three living: insect, bird, bat. Two non-living: wind and water. Now here special terms are there for that five agents. Most important terms for one answer question. If pollination that occurred through insect, then it is called as entomophily. ENTO. Entomophily. If pollination occurred through birds, then it is called as ornithophily. If it is occurred through bat, then it is called as chiropterophily. It is occurred through wind, then it is called as anemophily. Occurred through water pollination, then it is known as hydrophily. Now that terms that are the separate, I am giving you notes next time, separate notes for that five words: insect, entomophily, birds, ornithophily, bat, chiropterophily, wind or air, anemo, water, hydrophily. That are five terms we will see next time. Now that are the last topic of the chapter double of the chapter reproduction in lower plants. First chapter here completed. I am giving you the notes of that five terms: entomophily, chiropterophily, hydrophily, anemophily. And you can take screenshot of that, note down that, define that in particular one: autogamy, gentogamy and xenogamy. Define that terms by your own. How you can define autogamy? You write there autogamy and define. Definition you write down. Autogamy means transfer of pollen grain from anther to stigma of same flower present on same plant. That is called as autogamy. What is gentogamy? Transfer of pollen grain. Gentogamy, transfer of pollen grain from anther to stigma of different flower present on same plant. Different flower present on same plant. Listen here, autogamy, transfer of pollen grain from anther to stigma of same flower present on same plant. Gentogamy, stigma of different flower, means in autogamy different cut, in gentogamy same cut, same definition. And here xenogamy, transfer of pollen grain from anther to stigma of different flower present on different plant. That is the xenogamy, cross pollination, xenogamy. Two plants are there. Now you by your own write down the difference in between self and cross pollination. How you can write difference self and cross pollination? Self pollination, single plant involved present, two plant involved cross pollination. Self pollination, pollinating agent not required, here agent required. In self pollination, same variety form, same plant, same variety form. Here different variety form or new variety form, evolved variety form. Here evolution not occurred. Here evolution occurred. That are the different points in between self and cross pollination. You by your own write down the difference between self and cross pollination. I will giving you the notes of that net inside. If pollination occurred through insect, it is called as anemophily. If it is occurred through bird, then it is ornitho, bat, chiropterophily, wind, anemophily, and water hydrophily. Okay, boys.